Good morning, everybody. Hey,
Great.
Lisa.
Hi.
How you doing?
Excellent. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day. How are
It
you?
is a beautiful day. The sun is streaming in. Is it warm out? I haven't been out.
I think it's getting there. It's that fall. It feels so cold, and then by afternoon, you're tying your sweater around your waist.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not quite.
It's been one of those where in the car, especially because, the way the sun comes through, the climate control just goes from one end to the other.
Yeah. And each time you get in the car, you're like, why did I have it set here before?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cold. Oh, that's hot.
Mhm.
Yeah. So today we're talking about what we've learned, and probably, I think it's safe to say my favorite thing about real estate is that I learn something literally every day.
Yeah. Constantly. And when you feel like, okay, I think I've got a good handle on this. I've learned these big important things. Something new lands in your lap, and it's interesting and it's exciting, but it does mean like you always are on and needing to stay on top of things and educated.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that realtors stay curious. I'm always suspect of realtors who say they know something, um, because I just don't think that's practical. I mean, I know a lot, and all of it can change at any moment. And of course, we do market reports every month. We're digging in and looking at the numbers, and it's not only constantly changing, but it's constantly changing in ways it isn't expected to. So, we like to think that we have a seasonality that's relatively predictable. Well,
Sure.
the numbers, they don't really line up the way that you think they will. So that's another thing. I think if somebody has an agent who's saying this is how it's going to be because this is how it always is, I'd question that. I know a lot of times people look to us for answers because we are the experts, but the answer usually is we don't know, but we're paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation. And there's a lot that can be learned historically. You go back and see how things are, but still, it's not exactly the same year after year, place to place. There's just always something impacting it.
Right. And so it's not that those kind of pundits don't have a place. It's nice to have, some data and some expectations. But the thing that's important is to understand that we always have to be ready to pivot. So I had a client a couple of months ago who was watching interest rates really closely because they were going under contract, and said, "Oh, the Fed is going to meet and they're going to lower interest rates, and so we want to wait." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. First of all, the Fed does not raise and lower mortgage rates. That interest rate can sometimes affect mortgage rates, but it's not the same thing. And I'm not a lender, but that's the interest rates that banks pay one another or something like that they actually control." That has a ripple effect, and it certainly has varying effects on the economy. But it's not mortgage rates that they raise and lower. Um, and sometimes whatever the Fed does actually has the opposite effect on mortgage rates, and that's because mortgage rates are tied to the bond market, and I guess from what I understand, from what I'm told by the people who do actually understand this, the bond market, the people who buy and sell bonds, anticipate what's going to happen outside of that market and its effect on their market. And so they react according to how they think that's going to happen. So they have their own pundits who are talking about what they need to do. And so when everyone anticipates, and as you say, all the predictions say this is what the Fed is going to do, then the bond market reacts. They don't wait for it to happen.
Sure.
So they either buy or sell or whatever they do during that time. And then when the Fed does what's expected, everything kind of stays just the way it is. If the Fed does something unexpected, then the bond market does something different and the interest rates can go up when regular interest rates went down. They can go down when regular interest rates went up. It is not predictable or dependable. So
and there's also factor C in all of that, is that every single person, every family and individual situation is different. So even if you're seeing things average in one place, that doesn't mean you either. Like, you still need to speak with someone about your individual situation. And all of these things are factors into it, that to have someone who's trying to follow along make an educated guess, guidance is really helpful and necessary, because you can't. There's so many different factors going in, and then that bottom line is to you are you. You're not your next door neighbor. You're not the person being speculated about on the news. You need to find out what your individual situation is and what you can do with that.
right. And it's, it's one thing to kind of use they have those online calculators. They'll give you a ballpark, like you can sort of see some ratios. But as Lisa says, that's not you. That doesn't know your credit score, your debt to income ratio, the thing you forgot about, the bonus that isn't likely to be counted in your income, the cash you make from a side job, like all of those things need a professional to go through and advise you on. And then the rates are going to do what they do. So that's why we always say, like, this is about, unless you're an investor, it's about your home and where you need to live to serve your life. So obviously you don't want to be, we were talking about the term house poor this morning. You don't want to overbuy, but it really needs to be about where you want to live and where you need to live and what fits your life.
Yeah, that's something to me a couple days ago that really stuck about rates are going to change. They're going to go up or down. They're going to change. And
what we can predict with absolute certainty, they will either go up or down.
Yeah. So, they're going to go up or down. And then in that circumstance, where do you want to be? And you said it so well, so I hate to try to paraphrase incorrectly about if rates go up, when rates go up, when rates go down, where do you want to be? Do you want, like, in the home that you wanted? At what cost? Can you help me with your phrasing of how you said that? Because it was
so I don't remember exactly how I said it. But basically, that's what you need to look at. Where do you want to be when what's going to happen happens? So if you are in the house you're in now, which does not fit your life, and rates go up, are you going to be able to make that move you want to make?
Right.
Or are you no longer going to be able to afford it? If you are in the house now that you don't want to be in and rates go down, are you going to be able to find and beat all of the new competition that's entered back into the market,
right,
and purchase that house that you do want to be in that very narrow time frame?
Right, because everybody is saying, I'm waiting for rates to go down. Like, that's not an individual perspective on it. I'm waiting for rates to go down. Well, so many other people around you who are going to be looking at the same things you are, and the competition completely changes. Like, you have all of the people. So we want to get you in the right place, where you want.
If you're in the place that you want to live and rates go down, then you call up one of our fabulous lenders and you refinance. And you're able to do that because you don't have to do all of the other things to get that house. And that's how really you get the lowest rates you can. So our advice is always make the move that makes sense for you and for your family, not market sense, because the market does not care about you. It's not going to be on your time.
And if you're thinking that is something you're going to want in your future, to make those calls now.
Be ready.
Because there is a lot to think about and plan, and not just wait until, okay, I've got it, I'm situated, I'm ready to go.
Right. Yeah. And it's horrible. It breaks my heart. We have had clients in the past who, for a variety of reasons, sometimes bad advice, sometimes just, other life things, have said, oh, I'll get ready when we find the right house. And then they find the right house, and guess what? They can't buy it because they're not ready.
Right.
And then they spend a lot of time mourning that house that they weren't able to buy. Usually we've been able to eventually recover and find them something, but it doesn't have to be that way if you just get ready first.
Right.
And the other thing is, I know Zillow and a couple of other third-party platforms have sort of created a cottage industry around real estate where they use houses as the bait, and they want people to want to see the house. And then from there, they connect them with a realtor. Well, I just think that's a terrible way to do it. I know I'm biased, but you should know a realtor and you should hire them first before you ever even think about looking at a house. I don't care if it's years ahead of time. Know that you have somebody that you can trust with that process when you get to it. Don't just jump and run out with the first person who can open the door for you, because you're actually hiring that person. You're actually going to be bound by contract to them, and they might not be a great fit for you. So find that fabulous fit. If it's us, obviously that's fabulous. If it's not us, that's great too. Just find the person who is going to be that person for you, because that realtor is the one who's going to take you from the very beginning to the very end of the process. And so it needs to be somebody that you trust, that you're comfortable with. Hopefully you like them too. That's helpful, but trust is more important. And someone who's got some integrity. People who lie. People who don't. So, you're going to find sometimes people try to think about somebody who can be more crafty in the process. I don't know. What does that mean for how they're going to treat you? That's how I look, right?
Yeah. And you spend a lot of time with this person.
You do.
We spend a lot of time together, and because it's such a personal process. It's your home. It's where you're going to be, either whether it's you or your entire family for this period of life, how you're going to exist. And there's that emotional part of it, but also it's probably going to be one of the largest investments and purchases you ever make in your life. There are people who, have a lot of properties and they're busy doing it. But for most of us, we do this a couple times personally in our lives, and having the right person by your side who, when things are great, you can work through things together. And when there's a struggle, a conversation amongst the family of realizing what's important. I like also, you have said that to couples who are looking at places together, that they're going to learn about one another through the process. And there's going to be a moment where you look at the other person and say, what? That was important to you?
Who are you? You think he's cute? Ugh.
Third person there with you too, your realtor, who's hearing this and part of it and helping get there. So there's that, the financial aspect, the personal aspect, the therapy aspect. There's a lot of time and important things that go into that relationship, and really knowing them and being able to trust them when you have those moments and you say, either this suddenly became important, this is confusing, do you have what I need to get me through? And that's important to know, that the person you've chosen can do all of that for you. And when it's just the glossy house that you're picking first.
Yep. And then, a lot of people, because they don't understand what we do, they kind of minimize it, and they're just looking for someone to get them into that house because they're sure it's the right one, right? And one of the things that people learn very quickly when they work with us and we start to see more than one house is what you see online is not what you see in person. I think we lost your mic.
Oh, You hear
Oh,
me?
there you are again. Okay. Those are all learning experiences, and I learn from every one of my clients as well, even after having done as many as I have. Every client is a little bit different. I often get brought back to basics and remember something that I learned, my first month in real estate. So learning is a big, big part of this job,
Yeah.
and we never stop. And I don't think a realtor should. So I think that's where I'll get judgy.
And just to throw it out there too, as far as the what you see in the photos that's another thing too about the importance of making sure that you are with someone who you can communicate with clearly, regularly, and get into places together and go be in. Because as far as something that I have learned a lot is, the photos are not the experience, they're not the home. And some photos don't do things justice. We were talking about a place that had terrible photos and it was a wonderful home,
Yeah.
and there for that reason, or vice versa. I was just in a place this week where I thought, wow, this could be like, we were talking together, looking at options, and the layout, the feel of it, where you're looking out of windows, the hidden stair you didn't know was in the middle of the living room that was not in a listing report or in any photo, that they discovered by, and yeah, that's such a factor.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest surprise that most people have. And just like when I talk to sellers and I say your house is going to be dating and it's going to start online dating. Now I haven't dated in a really long time. We used to, draw pictures on the cave wall and then someone would and swipe right or left. But I think it's very similar. So I have a son who sometimes meets people for the first time, and it can be quite a different experience than what's expected. So same thing happens with houses.
Yeah, gotta line up these little coffee dates.
Exactly. So thanks so much for joining us, and obviously reach out to me or Lisa or both of us anytime you have a real estate question. We are here. And if you're thinking that this might be the year coming up that you're going to move, we need you to get in touch with us right away. Don't wait until spring. Don't wait until you think you're ready. We were just talking about an email we ought to send out. We ought to make a video of it, but it starts with "Don't not bother me," and that is we are urging you, don't not bother us, please. Yes, we're busy. That's okay. This is what we do. Bother us.
Better for everyone if, when you have that idea, you have that thought, you have that question, now go ahead, send it, please.
Yeah. I promise we are not going to make you do something you don't want to do. We are not going to make you move when you don't want to move. We're not going to make you buy a house that you don't love. We're not going to make you sell a house that you don't want to sell. We will not make you do any of those things. If you feel like, you once got tricked into buying a lousy car, that's a whole different climate. We don't operate that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like, I was thinking about that too recently, where I'm never going to encourage someone to buy something that isn't right. And even if at first it seems like maybe I'm the one realizing that, like, it's a process. Neither of us are ever going to encourage you to make a move that is.
I just had this conversation with clients who are currently purchasing something, and one of them said, well, I trust you. And I said, well, you ought to. I've talked you out of 3 other houses over the years. So yeah, I'm going to do that when it's.
But if you have a question, or you're thinking, in a couple years, like, we're looking at the way our life is changing and we might want to make a change, make that call, send that text, just drop a note. It doesn't need to be anything formal or life altering, just a conversation of answering some questions, sharing some thoughts.
And I'm under contract right now with 2 clients. One, I have been showing properties off and on for about 5 years. And the other one also, I think our first conversation was probably 6 years ago. So now they're ready. Now we're getting it done. That's what I really, really encourage. And, by the way, sometimes during that process, somebody decides that we're not the best fit. That's fine too. You can make all the decisions. Just you want to make them purposefully, not in a rush.
For
So,
sure. Yeah.
So if you like us, we'll help you.
I think you're great.
You are. All right. We will see you soon. And guess what? We talked too much. What a surprise. We're over time. But I'll see you next Friday, and Lisa will see you when you call her.
Take care.